Hey everyone, welcome back. I just finished a recent project here where I upgraded the lighting on my Camtono, and the difference is quite substantial. So I'm super excited to share this with you. There's actually a lot to this video, so I'm just going to get right into it. But basically, I'll go through a quick demonstration of how this all works. After that, I'll follow up with a view of how all of the wiring is put together on the inside of the Camtono, and then I'll have a select segments of the build process that I like to share with you guys. Alright, so why don't we just get started right now. You'll see that the doors are open and the top here is off. I did that just for the simplicity of the demonstration, but all of the modifications retains all of the original functions of the Camtono, and it utilizes the existing battery pack. So those were key for me when I went through this project. Alright, so let's get started with the demonstration. There you can see the center light, which I've updated and upgraded the LEDs, as well as, let's see, the 3 auxiliary LEDs that I've added. So once you close the Camtono, all of the lights shut off, and then using the RF controller, it will all turn on, all the auxiliary LEDs as well as the center LED you can see all turn on. This is at max brightness, and I'll dim this down. You can see there. And then let me turn off some lights and show you a little bit more. So that's the lowest brightness, and then here's max. Alright, everything's wired up, so here's a quick look as to how I organized everything inside the Camtono. So the power comes through this set of cables here, and what I've done is I've routed all of the wires as much as possible around the interior perimeter of the Camtono, just to keep them away from these latches, which are for the door, and I don't want anything to get pinched or to interfere with that particular mechanism. So this was the best way that I found to manage everything. You can see here, this is the center LED with the new mounting plate, and then for the 3 auxiliary LEDs, you'll see here I actually secured them using some Kapton tape. I wanted things to be removable. I didn't want it to be permanently held in case I needed to update service or do anything. So I found that was the best way to secure them down. And then you can see here I've used some clips just to hold the various wires down so that they're in place. And then you'll see over here, so this is the control board for the code as well as for the activation of the center LEDs. So I have incoming power to the board, and then this goes out and distributes it to the center LED into another pigtail. So that's just a quick look at how I managed everything. Alright, if you've made it this far, then you've already seen the finished project. So I assume that you guys are interested in seeing how all this worked out. So the main objectives that I had were twofold. The first one was to improve the lighting in the Camtono, so that means upgrading the center LED as well as adding some auxiliary lighting to the Camtono. And then the second part was flexibility, being able to turn on and off the lights without being dependent on the unlocking mechanism, because after a while it'll time out and then the light will shut down. So what I did was I came up with a wiring diagram here, and it basically kind of highlights and allows me to work out some of the design elements for what this looks like. So basically from here, this will be a reference on my RPF log. So let's start with the center LED first. So this is the part that sits into the Camtono when it comes stock, and you can see here this is the LED, and it was just hot glued in there, and that doesn't give very much output. So what I ended up doing was I made this piece, and so what this will do is this will sit on the posts, and then I'll have a couple of LEDs underneath, and I'll show you. These are the two guys that I wired up, and it will essentially sit side by side like that. So I'll get this painted up black just so that it reduces some of that possible reflection on the inside. And then for the auxiliary LEDs, I have 3 sets here, and these are pretty straightforward. And then the way I'm going to mount these are basically upside down from into the Camtono. What you can see is the solder points causes this to lift up. So what I ended up doing was creating little adapter here like this, and so it'll fit over, and I'll show you in a second here how that all works, but that should keep things nice and flat and even. So I have all 3 of these LEDs tied together into this one connector here. So what I've done is I've upgraded everything to these connectors, so then they're easy to maintain, and if there's any issues, I can correct them easily. And then so I have a pigtail here. This will bring incoming power, so I'll be able to power the auxiliary LEDs with one, and then this will bring power to the control board. And then I also have this LED controller here, which obviously there's a remote, and this will allow me to turn the lights on remotely and without having to mess around with the various pieces of the Camtono. So alright, let me move this over and I'll show you how this all connects up. Alright, so first off, you could see a couple of these pieces I've already attached, but in essence this little jig will allow me to position the LEDs correctly, and it's centered on that slot, and so I just attached that with some Tamiya extra thin cement, and that's not going to go anywhere. So let's get this all connected. So first thing is the pigtail here. Power to the auxiliary LEDs will come through the RF controller. So this I will attach to one of these. This other one goes to the control board on the lid, so I'll show that in a second. So now you have this here, and then on this end will go the LEDs themselves, just like that. And then what I have to do is just make sure I route these wires around on the perimeter as best as I could. And then once these are installed, I'll just kind of spread them around to all of the different locations. So here is the lid, and this section here I know is the incoming power, so that will get connected there. I made sure that both of these ends coming from the control board are different connectors. One's male, one's female, just to keep it separate so there's no confusion there. And then on the output of the controller, this goes to the stock standard center LED, so then this will just connect up this way, just like that. So there you have it. So this is how everything is wired up. Like I said, I put all of these connectors in here just to make it easier to maintain and service if I needed to. So there's more to this build if you stay with me, so stay tuned for that coming up right now. The way I'm mounting these LEDs is I'm adding 3 sets of these COB strips. They're nice and tiny, and basically the idea here is you could see already I have one cutout already made, but these COB strips will be mounted upside down, so it will provide some light into the Camtono, and by having one here, one there, should give some nice even light on the inside. So how I made that particular cutout, I made a jig here to help align and orient these the cutouts so that they're nice and even on each side. Okay, and then what I'll end up doing, and what I did here was, first off, after I made the marks, I made some starter holes with a punch, and then I used, let me see here, a 1/16 bit to start the hole, and then I went to a 3/32 bit to widen the hole, and then I used a combination of my X-Acto knife, some metal files, and then also my nail files to get the final dimensions correct and nice and smooth. And what I'll end up doing is I'll make sure to paint the edges of that cutout so then you can't see the white from the underneath.